topic of truthfulness, which is the parami for the month. There's no wisdom without truthfulness. And in this practice, truthfulness is about honesty, self-honesty, self-examination and self-honesty. And that's not so easy to do. Even though most of us would probably say we're pretty trustworthy, we're pretty truthful, we're honest. But the truth is that even with altruistic acts, there's still a thread of selfishness in there. And that's okay, but it's just beginning to notice that. It's beginning to notice the mixed motivations that we have. So, for example, we might not end a relationship, for example, because we're afraid to be alone. Or a dear friend might get a promotion or might get a big raise. And there's a part of us, we're happy for them, but there's also another part of us that feels jealous or envious, right? Or then there's the little sneaky bit of part of us that wants, like a favorite dessert comes our way, and we just happen to take the biggest piece of our favorite piece of cake, right? And yes, there is that little bit of want, of greed in there. It's okay, no judgment. It's the noticing of that, though, that becomes really important in the practice, like owning up to it, being real about that. And what I find to be most helpful in daily life is to have a dear friend, like a beloved, who will tell you when you're being a little unskillful. We'll hold the mirror up to you kindly. And we want to be grateful for our friends, our dear friends who are willing to say something like that to us, because they are true friends. They don't want us to hurt other people. They don't want us to be hurt. But one of the places where I feel like truthfulness really comes forward is when you're on retreat. So this is very much related to what happened last month. I was on retreat. We were both on retreat at the Forest Refuge. And retreat, for those of you who've never been on a retreat, when you leave your world and you go on a retreat and you go to a place that is quiet and it's bare bones, there's no distraction. It's not about reading. It's not about hopping on a computer or device. It's just about being with yourself. Believe me, you come forward. All of your wants, all of your needs, all of your little comes forward. Trust me. And so we were on a monastic retreat, which just, again, it kind of ups the ante. And let's say, I feel like it brings out the absolute best in all of us. But it's more rigorous. And there's a real desire to do the work of really looking. And so this particular retreat was a Mahasi style retreat. And some of you may have practiced that before. It's well known as a noting practice, and very much so at IMS. Actually, the roots of IMS are with the Mahasi tradition. Mahasi Sayadaw was he was a Theravadan master from Burma and a scholar. And he developed a technique that was widely used at the very beginning years of IMS. And it has three characteristics. The first one is very specifically, you place attention on the abdomen for noticing the breath. Like, so you're watching the breath at the abdomen, watching the rise and fall at the abdomen. That's the first thing. The second characteristic is the noting, and it's microscopic noting. So if I'm watching the rise and fall at the abdomen, I am starting to notice all of the small sensations that are that create the inhalation, that create the arising of an inhalation. I notice the pause between the inhalation and the exhalation, and then all of the movements of the breath on the exhalation. And so it gets very, very precise, very nuanced, very subtle. And then the third aspect of the Mahasi tradition is that you also move through space very slowly as well. And why? So that we can see more what's going on. And what happens is that in movement, as we move around our space at our usual speed, we tend to not notice all of the little intentions that are going on behind the scenes that are causing the movement. Oh, I need to go grab my hat. And so we were halfway up the stairs before we realized that we went to grab our hat. The intention to go grab the hat, right? And then we grab the hat and come back down, whatever it might be. But the point of moving slowly is that we see all of these movements. And so slow walking is part of it. Now, so at IMS, there's slow walking. But then there is another level of slow walking, where slow walking is often divided into three movements: the lifting of the foot, the moving of the foot, and then the placing of the foot. And so you divide walking in that way, each step in that way, so that you, again, can begin to see all of the small movements that go into the lifting, moving, placing of the foot. And when people are doing the Mahasi tradition, the walking can get so slow, that one has to literally hold on to a wall so they don't fall down. It's, you're noticing all of the little wobbles of the feet. It's quite remarkable. But you never know what's going to show up on retreat. So here I am, literally day 2. And I am recognizing that, holy smokes, no matter how slow I go, somebody else is going even slower. And I start to feel impatience. Now, I laugh at that, or I smiled at that, because I also knew that all of you were working on patience last month. And I was too. I totally was. And it was around the slow walking. I would get behind someone, a slow walker, truly slow walker. And at first a dilemma would arise, do I pass them? If I pass them, well, what are they going to think? Oh, they're sure, really mindful, zipping by me. What's that about? Can't slow down, And then I'm judging myself, and I'm hearing that, right? And so that was like day 1, and I see that. I could see the whole thing. I could see Susan getting caught up and coming online and being judgmental of herself and worrying about what other, and then dropping that. And then even in dropping that, so the next week I am still, and even for the next 3 weeks, I am still working with the experience, the felt experience of impatience, which is a whole body affair. It is a mind-body experience. The mind feels a certain kind of pressure. Even if it's not actually thinking the thoughts, it's about to. And it can feel that, like the about to, like, what the should I do? Should I move forward? Should I pass them or not? Or should I hang back? Or feeling the rush of, like, the body wanting to move at a faster pace and the needing to slow down, and the holding back of the wild horses, and feeling that and recognizing that is the practice. And then when I would settle back, and this is what I did, is I really took this up as an object of my practice, impatience. And I would, most of the time, I would very deliberately fall into line with the slow walker's pace. So I'd fall right into step with them. And I would feel this, the revving up that's there, and slowly it slowing down, the heart rate going down, the feeling the breath less staccato and a little bit easier, and feeling the hitches in the movements, and feeling them as they smoothed out. And this is watching impatience arise and pass away until what appears is patience. This is how we work with patience, is by taking up the object of impatience. And this is good practice. And this brings me to the topic at hand, truthfulness, because it is the willingness and the interest for Susan to want to see what are the unskillful things that are going on in the privacy of my mind and heart, as I'm in a beautiful space with other people that are trying to develop their heart, and still this is what's coming up. And being willing to see that, being willing to name it, and being willing to feel what it feels like in real time, not so I can judge myself, but so I can figure, how do I relate well to this? So I don't act out of impatience. I don't rush past someone in a huff or in a whirl, because I'm at a different speed than them, right? And so this kind of truthfulness is the truthfulness out of which wisdom is honed. It's nothing fancier than that, but it's really having the strength and the courage to see where the rubs are. This is where the growth is going to happen, where the rubber meets the road. This is how the pearl is grown, which I've always found to be like just like nature, right? A piece of debris gets in an oyster, sand and water move through that oyster in that closed space, closed enough that debris starts to collect all of the stuff around it, and slowly but surely a pearl emerges out of debris. The lotus arises out of the mud. Let's not be afraid to see the places where it's uncomfortable, where it feels unpleasant, where, we don't like how we react about X, Y, and Z. Well, take that up as an object. What is that about? What are the causes and conditions for that experience to arise? How do you work with, if it's impatience, how do you work with the impatience that's really coming up? And deeply appreciate the effort. I think actually appreciation is the key for us to keep going in practice, so we don't do this, right? We just appreciate what we're noticing and how we're working with it. So this is truthfulness. And it is the place upon which our practice will grow, our wisdom will grow. Take that to heart. No judgment. Leave the judgment out. Investigation, we cannot investigate when judgment is present. Bring curiosity and interest to the fore. Wow, look at that. Look at that impatience. Look at that coming up. Wow. Just because somebody's walking slow in front of you. Chill out. Right? Just like that. Just like that. We can do this. This is for our happiness. This is why the Buddha taught what he taught. He taught it for our happiness, for our welfare, and for everyone's welfare. So let's this month take up truthfulness as the object of our attention, and be curious about what you notice about yourself that's skillful and unskillful. Be honest, be real. It's okay that there are rubs. We all have them. No one's perfect. No one. Welcome to the human race, right? But what's your little bailiwick? What's your little issue? Go with that. Have fun with it. Be light with it. How do I work with this skillfully? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your kind attention.